Hello and welcome back to Excelsior Academy. Myself, Dr. Ruby Singh, even though I have not mentioned myself, Dr. Ruby Singh, and I am taking in this section Class 8, Chapter 8, first part, which is the cell structure and functions. So before we proceed, I would like to request everyone to please like, share and subscribe. Please share with your friend circle so that they can also get the update videos, update of the video so that they can also prepare for their exams. So since everything is being online now, so I would like to suggest you to make sure to utilize the entire benefits of these online sessions. Okay, so the first question before I start with this video, I would like to ask every one of you, how many bacteria does human carries? So I'll give you, this is a little bit of fun type of scientific questions. So what I've decided now is that whenever I take a video, I'm going to ask you one scientific fun corner question, which will, open up your mind regarding how the science actually is mattering, which is surrounding us. Okay. So I'll give you the answer in the last in the last part of the video. So before that, just keep in your mind that this is a question, how many bacteria does a human carry? And let's start with our topic, the cell. So we know that each living being is made up of cell. So this is the present knowledge we have. Let it be an animal, let it be a man or a plant or any kind of living beings, they all are made up of cell. So here if you see that I have tried to show you different kinds of categories of organisms. So we have got the animals, humans, plants, again animals. So all these are nothing but they are all made up of cells. So here the basic unit of living things is the cells. So in detail we are going to study what is a cell, how exactly it is, doing the following functions and helping us to carry out our day-to-day activities. So slowly we'll make all the concepts clear and then we slowly move on. So we, as I said now, it is a basic structural unit of an organ, cell. They are assembled to make the body of every organism. So even if you talk about humans, the brain cells are there, hair cells are there, eye, lips, your skin, your liver, your kidney, everything is made up of each single cell. Now what happens is, eventually I will explain how exactly these cells combine together to form a tissue then combine together to form an organ and the entire organ system. So when all these organ systems are combined, they actually form a particular individual organism. Okay. Now who discovered cell? Like, from where the science of all studying all these living organisms came? So it was Robert Hooke in 1665 who absorbed the slices of cork. So it is a part of the tree bark. So under a simple magnifying device and observed thin slices of these cork as compartment like boxes under a microscope. So if you see over here, so he was the Robert Hooke, and he used this as the ancient microscope that time which was available. So we know that there are certain magnifying glasses which focus on a particular angle, then you can see the small images into a large images. So he made use of those and then he observed the cork slices over here. So he saw that there are certain boxes like or the compartment like images are there. So he later coined them as the cell. And finally he also understand that these cells were not living, so they were dead. So we already know that the cork part, which is like you use in the wine bottle and all, if you make the thin slices and observe, you will see something like this. And of course they are dead, they are not a part of the living body anymore. Now in today's, with the later science and technology we have got a very advanced microscopes, right? So now if you see, observe, you can see something like this. So these are the recent images of the plant cell. You can see over here very beautifully. You can see how the cell walls have been stained, and then inside you can see the cytosol, and these are the nucleus and all, everything. So these are the how exactly the beautiful images of plant cell look like. Now who discovered microscope? So Robert Hooke was a person who studied about the cells first, but who discovered the microscope? It was Anton van Leeuwenhoek. So this was the ancient microscope he used, first discovered, which Robert Hooke, he made use of this. So this was the ancient microscope. You can see how simple it is. So they were making use of the magnifying glasses and the natural light source in order to observe the any specimen. Now, if you see this one, this, if you have gone to your labs and all, this is your modern microscope. So you must have heard of something called compound microscope. Compound microscope. So nowadays in the lab, we use such one. So here you can see this is the eye piece. Then objective lens are there. This is the stage where you keep your specimen. Then these are the fine and coarse adjustment, and this is the light source. And then you have the condenser over here in order to adjust so that the light, proper light, falls on your specimen to observe. Okay. So I hope this is clear. So as we move on in biology section of the science part, we'll learn more about these things. Okay, so the cell. So as I already said that the Robert Hooke, he understood that these cells were like compartment. So you can also compare these cells like the bricks of the building. So one unit, so the buildings are made up of one single unit called the bricks. So you can compare these bricks equivalent to the cell. So how walls are made? When you keep alignedly in bricks, you keep in an aligned way so that the proper wall is formed. In the same way, when the cells are aligned in such a way that they form a tissue which eventually helps in the carrying out the function by the organisms. So here also you can see, you can compare over here. So this is how brick wall looks like, and this is how your onion peel. Each compartment is representing one single cell. Okay. Now the cell also exists in different sizes and shape. Now here is a question to all of you. An egg can be seen easily. Is it a cell or a group of cells? So we know that whenever we talk about a cell, whether let it be a human cell, embryo, or the elephants or the hens, the egg cell is actually a single cell. So the egg of a hen represents a single cell, and it is big enough to be seen by the unaided eye. So this is the only cell which you can see without the help of the microscope. Please remember. So each organisms show difference in cell number, shape, and size. Now, how do scientists like us, they study all these living things? We actually cannot see directly, right? So even if I have specs, I cannot see it, right? So what we do is we make use of these microscopes. So there are certain microscopes ranging from different sizes and also where actually you can see the microorganisms like bacteria, viruses, animal and plant cells, everything now you can visualize very beautifully. You just have to make a thin slices, put onto the glass slide, cover it, stain it, and visualize under the microscope. So there are number of cells. So organisms are made up of more than one cell. So they are called multicellular organisms. If it is made up of one single cell, then it is called unicellular. So I have shown over here. So you have got the cell types unicellular and multicellular. So multicellular मतलब multiple cell. इसका मतलब ये है कि एक से ज़्यादा उसमें cells are present. Whereas in the case of unicellular, it's a single cell. So a very good example over here it is given about the amoeba. You can see over here, amoeba is there, paramecium is there. I'm sure you must have seen in your previous year's class biology practical. So this is your amoeba. And then this is your paramecium. Okay, you can see over here, it's a single cell. The only thing is that it is a single cell and it is irregular. You can see that there is no proper shape of this particular cell. Now, when we talk about single cell, we should also remember that we ourselves are also have originated from a single cell. Okay, so let me explain you this. This is a very good example to understand like how us, which are multicellular organisms, have evolved from or originated from the single unicellular cell. So if you remember, we need a, you must have heard about the zygote formation, diploid cell, and everything and all. So here, if this is the egg, so we know that fertilization happens when sperm comes, right? So it becomes a single cell. So it's also a single cell. Now when you say single cell, it means what? It has got one set of chromosomal copies, correct? And this is one particular cell. Now, what happens depending on the environmental conditions, hormones, and the requirements, this cell starts dividing. So this single cell becomes then 2n, then 4n, then it goes on dividing exponentially. So what happens after that? After that, we have started becoming the multicellular. So now we have got more than one particular cell. So see how beautiful it is. Like from one single cell, we have actually become a multicellular. So this is also the advancement of all the organisms. We have achieved this stage of development. So currently it means what? Now you cannot say that humans are unicellular. There was a point when it is unicellular, but now once you start developing and all, you become into a multicellular organism. So please do not get confused. Now, what are the functions performance? So we talked about unicellular and we also talked about the multicellular organism. So do you think that being unicellular or multicellular, it is going to affect their functions, like how to survive in the nature? So let us see over here. A single cell organism like amoeba, it also captures and digests food. It also respires, excretes, grows and reproduces, right? So even though it is a single organism, it's a single cell, it also is able to capture its food molecule, eat, digest, and also able to reproduce, like how we multicellular organisms are doing. So does it mean that multicellular organisms are more advanced or enhanced as compared to the unicellular? So if you ask such questions, then answer is no. Actually, unicellular organisms are also able to survive of their own because they are also able to eat, capture, digest, grow, and reproduce in the same way how multicellular organisms are able to do. So we are also able to capture and digest our food. We also respire. We also excrete out and grow and reproduces, right? So similar functions in multicellular organisms are carried out by groups of specialized cells forming the tissues. So as I already have mentioned, these cells together cluster together to form a tissue. Tissue in return form an organ, and then the organ system is formed. So which is actually representing the entire organism's functioning system. Now, what are the shapes of these cells? So till now we were discussing about the number of the cells, which may vary from being unicellular to multicellular. Now coming to the shapes. So the shape of the cell, it also defines the function of the cell also. For example, let us talk about the amoeba. It has irregular shape, that is no shape is there. So what is the help? Like how exactly this shape, the irregular shape of the amoeba is actually helping in surviving the amoeba. So what you can understand from here is that, so whenever a food capturing process is there, for example, we have got the amoeba over here. Okay, now suppose certain food particles are here. Okay, so what will happen later? This amoeba will try to extend these portions like this. Since it is irregular, it doesn't matter. It just can go and cover it like this. So finally, what is happening? You have a amoeba, and with this kind of pseudopodia-like functions, now the food particles are inside, right? So let us say these were the food particles. And these extensions are called pseudopodia. Okay, so these irregularity in the shape, with the help of the pseudopodia movement, it is helping the amoeba to capture its food particles and to grow and reproduce. So there are different types of shapes are also there, like spindle shape. So we know spindle shape. So if you remember, we have also seen spindle shape. Muscle cells, flats are there, totally flat, oval, circular. Basically, in the case of bacteria, you see circular shape. Disc-like, you have with a gap over here. So this in the case of RBC, R erythrocytes, you can see. Then we have got the round, cylindrical. This is also a very good example for bacteria. And then elongated. Okay. So here I can give you few examples also. Spindle, I already said muscle. Flat, many bacteria are there. Circular bacteria, there is one example called S. aureus. Now this is the bacteria which is responsible for your acne. You get pimples because of this bacteria. Then we have got cylindrical E. coli. We'll study more about these microbes, so don't worry. So there's a few examples. So E. coli, this is also responsible for having all your food poisoning problems. Okay. So these are the different types of shapes of the cell. So let it be a microbe, let it be animal or plant. So different types of cells are existing. Now movement of WBC. So here, this example I have taken for you to explain. So like how amoeba is, because of its irregularity in shape, is able to capture its food and move, right? In the same way, this irregularity is very important because in our case also, so WBC, so we know that WBC, what is the function of WBC? So I hope everyone knows. So these are your white blood cells. Okay. So these are your defensive mechanism which happens whenever there is a wound to your body. So all these white blood, WBC comes and they start acting over there in order to prevent any bacterial infection. Okay. Now how exactly this is happening? So we know that we have got the blood vessels. We have got the blood vessels. Okay. So let us imagine these are your blood vessels and we have got here your RBCs. Let us give some light color to your WBC. So let us say these are your WBC. Okay. So we know that your blood consists of both RBCs and WBCs. Now suppose at this side you have got the wound. You got a cut with the knife or something. Okay. So what will happen? So this blood, they all start coming out over here, right? Now this is something which is happening very fast, but your wound needs to be healed, right? Now for healing, what happens is that your WBC, suppose, now this is the site of wound and these are your blood vessels. So we know that to each part of your body, the blood vessels are providing all the sufficient nutrients, right? Now suppose your WBCs are here. Now how exactly they are going to help? So we know that at this wound site, there might be certain bacteria. Okay. So first of all, bacteria size is smaller as compared to the RBCs. Okay. If suppose this is bacteria, then your RBCs are this big. So let us say this is the R comparison. Now what happens at the wound site? So of course it is exposed to the air. You must have fallen somewhere. So always there is a bacteria present. Now we don't want our body to get infected by the bacteria. So this WBC, what they will do, they will try to come out from the blood vessels. Now how exactly they do? So from between the blood vessels, sorry, I should use the other color. Yeah. So between the blood vessels, these are WBC, they will try to come out. So we know that WBC is something like this, but they can change their shape. So they become very thin and then they come out like this. So this is suppose your bloodstream and this is the wound site. So what is happening? So between your blood vessels, the WBC from the bloodstream, it will just squeeze itself out and it will go towards the wound side. Now at the wound side, what is happening is, at the wound side, so these WBCs are present like this, many are there, and you have got the bacteria also present over here, right? Now even they will change their shape. Now once they change their shape, what will happen? They will try to eat all these bacteria and then they digest. So again, here the shape matters. So the more irregularity in the shape is there, it is easy for the cell to form a pseudopodia like projections and it helps in eating the bacteria. So this is just in a small overview how exactly your defense cells like WBCs are working when you get a cut or wound on your body. Okay, so more you will study once you plan or once you have decided that you're going for medical field, then you can study in detail. So moving on to the next. So shapes also define functions, as already we have seen in the case of amoeba and WBC. So the different shapes are related to the specific functions. So they can be round, spherical, elongated, as already mentioned. So here you can see the RBCs are there. They have got the concave circular disc like shape. This is your muscle fibers, which is in the spindle shape. You can see that these help in actually. So how exactly these shapes are helping them? It is because of their shape. It is because of their shape that RBCs can be squeezed very easily. So even if you have got the narrow tubing of the blood vessels, this is easy for RBCs to get squeezed and go and reach the destination. Okay. In the case of muscle, so if you have got the spindle fiber, they align like this and it helps in stretching. So we know that we always do our hands like this, legs, we always stretch and relax. So they help in stretching, and relaxing. Okay, so already they are in the spindle shape, so it can just get stretched and then relax, stretch and relax. Then we have got the nerve cell. So nerve cell, it means it is present in the brain. So you can see over here, so many branches are there. These are called dendrites and they make more connections. So more connection, good memory, more intelligence, right? And longer the tail, you remember long memories are also there. Okay. Now, what determines the shape of the cell? So till now we were talking about that cell has got different shapes. But what exactly is responsible for the shape of the cell? It is the something called plasma membrane or the cell membrane. It is the plasma membrane which actually determines the shape of the cell. In few books, it will be cell membrane. So if you have a cell like this, the boundary is called the plasma membrane. Inside you have got the cytoplasm, nucleus, and many other organelles which are responsible for the functions of the cell. So this was all about the shapes and the number of the cells. Now coming to the size. So as already said that the only cell which you can see through naked eye is the ostrich egg, right? Now, usually it ranges in microns to few centimeters. Mostly the cells are observed under the microscope and are not visible to the unaided eyes. They need to be enlarged or magnified by a microscope. So we already discussed that in order to visualize these cells, you need to have a microscope and the staining solution, because if it is transparent, then nothing will be seen. The smallest cell ranges from 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer in bacteria. The largest cell measuring is 170 mm to 130 mm is the egg of an ostrich. So here also you can see how RBCs are there. So usually what we see when the blood comes out is the red color only. But if you visualize under the microscope, you can see that so many this disc-like RBCs are present in millions and millions. Now this is the example of nerve cells. So you can see over here nucleus is there. These branches are there which are called dendrites, which make connection with the other cells, which helps in your intelligence and creating memories. Then you have got the terminal over here. So it makes connection with the another nerve cells. Now, are the cells in an elephant larger than the cells in a rat? Because we know that rat is very small animal and elephant is a big animal. So does it mean that the eggs or the cells which are present in them are going to be large and small? Actually, no. If you if you harvest few cells from the elephant and if you harvest few cells from the rat, you will see that both are having the same size. Both are eukaryotic, both are multicellular, mammalian, and they are going to look exactly same in the case under microscope. So this is the table which represents the ranges of the cell which you can visualize from your eyes, or otherwise you need a special kind of microscope. So we know that the humans can be seen. We are ranging from 1 meter to 1.5 meter. Ostrich egg is around 10 centimeter. Then chicken egg, frog egg. So we are going towards the smaller size. Then you can see the human egg. So even the human egg over here, it is saying that 100 micrometer, it means that it is not visible to your eyes. Okay, you just need microscope in order to understand them. Then we have got the animal and plant cells, which is ranging to the 10 to 100 micrometer. Then smaller to that, we have got the bacteria, mitochondria. So mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, which provides energy. We'll study all this in detail later. Then comes the virus. That is, you can see that virus is again very much smaller as compared to the bacteria. Okay. So it is coming in the nanometer range. So here we were talking about micrometer. It is coming in the nanometer range. And smaller to that, we have got the lipids and proteins. And then to the last, we have got the atoms. So we know that atoms makes all these lipids and proteins. And all these protein lipids make the entire living organisms. Okay. Now, coming back to the question which I have asked in the starting of the presentation. So how many bacteria does a human carry? So you need to understand over here. If I say that the number of cells present in human and the number of bacteria present in on human, which is more, so you must be thinking the answer is of course humans, because the number of cells in humans are more as compared to the bacteria. We always sanitize ourselves, we always take bath, right? But unfortunately, no, it is not. So this is what the interesting part over here. We have got around 100 trillion bacteria. Sorry. We have got 100 trillion bacteria on our body. You must be wondering how exactly this is possible, right? For this, a very simple explanation. Your palm skin, it is present. On your mouth, it is present because day to day, every day we eat a lot of things, right? So many are there. On your nose hair, it is present. You breathe a lot. The nose hairs are helping you preventing the bacteria to go inside your ears, your skin, your hair, the clothes which you wear, the genital area, your skin hairs, the clothes you wear, because of the clothes it's there on your body, right? All these parts are actually having so much of bacteria. Not only this, this is what till now I said is only on the surface of your body. What about the inside? So on your gut also, we have got a good microbiome of these organisms. If you remember, the food poisoning happens, right? So all these are happening because of the bacteria. So you just cannot get rid of these bacteria. So there are good bacteria also which are helping you to, digestion of food and synthesizing the vitamins which you cannot get or procure from outside. So there are certain good bacteria which are helping in synthesizing the vitamins also. So overall, if you see that more than the number of human cells we have got the bacteria. Isn't it interesting? So let's do the another science fun fact in the next video. So I hope this you liked it, and we'll be sharing so many scientific fun facts like this so that the science becomes interesting to study. So thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and share. If any comments and suggestions are there, which will be appreciated. You can also write us on Excelsior Academy 1228@gmail.com. You can also share or give your topics on which we can have more discussion. So thank you for watching. Please keep watching all this and subscribe. Thank you.